لكن تحديت الظروف وخضتها وحدي صبورا مستعينا بالصلاة. كم مرة عصف الأنين بداخلي، كم مرة قد ذاق قلبي من أساه محن تمر، وكم كرهت مصابها.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. ما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Got my Puma on, got loads of Puma gear, and since they withdrew their sponsorship of the Zionist entity, I decided to rep Puma again. Subhanallah al-Azim. But whilst representing Puma, it seems like Shamsi is representing the Zionists. Now, again, I'm going to be fair and just as much as I can in this particular video. And whilst Shamsi has been vocal against the Zionists, right, and he has been vocal against their barbaric campaign in Gaza, I'm going to be fair and just. That is the case. The sad reality that Shamsi and his supporters are not seeing the bigger picture, and they're missing a very important point. Number one, his personal sentiments against the Zionist entity and his vocal opposition against Zionism is completely irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. Why? Because providing and continuing giving them their political recognition and the stance that he holds benefits the Zionists, right? Just looking at it practically, his stances benefits the Zionists, then his political sentiments and opposition against the Zionists is completely irrelevant. Shamsi released a video today, in fact, responding to Daniel Hakikaju. Let's be completely frank. The article is not completely false. The article itself, if anyone read the article objectively, what he said, whoever this individual may be, whether he's got any sort of connection with Daniel Hakikaju, anyone with a fair mind would read this. As a Muslim, I would always defend my Muslim brother against the Zionists. My Muslim brother would always take precedent. But the stance he holds is in completely alignment with the Zionist objectives in the region. You shield to Gulf leaders. Before going into the article, let's listen to MBZ, who he shields for, Shamsi and his likes shield for, and MBS, because it's this pan-Arabism, isn't it? They love to defend Gulf rulers. That's where their bootlicking objectives lie, giving legitimacy to Gulf rulers. Same thing with Rabbi Faris and the others. Even Abdurrahman Hassan is in Dubai. You know, he won't be able to comment because this is what they do. They lob to Gulf rulers, etc. So let's have a listen.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for coming back again to your second home. It's really meaning a lot to us. This is a new relationship that we are trying to build a very strong bridge between our both countries. And I think we have built a very strong bridge that we are both proud of.
UAE is a major linchpin in the movement towards peace in the region. Now we need to reach cruising altitude, meaning upgrade the relationship even further, strengthen them, and bring more nations on board of the Abraham Accord.
You heard MBZ Shaitan al-Arab speaking to the Israeli president whilst his nation is in the midst of carpet bombing Gaza, killing innocent children, and he's sitting there with a nice smile on his face, claiming that this is his second home. Ask yourself this question. Your stances are in line with the political objectives of the Zionist entity. I don't care about your own personal sentiments, mate, Shamsi. I don't. Your manhaj, when it comes to specific rulers, meaning Saudi Arabia, MBZ, Sisi and their likes, focuses on fulfilling their political gains, aims and goals.
You know, I love Starbucks, you know. People are driving me crazy, akhi. Starbucks.
سخر من حملات المقاطعة في ظل العدوان على قطاع غزة ودافع عن التطبيع مع دولة الاحتلال.
Having peace treaty with the Zionists, with the Zionists, with the kindness, with the kindness, with everyone. According to the Quran and Sunnah, you're allowed to do it out of necessity.
الإعلام الإسرائيلي يحتفي بالداعية الجزائري شمسي بن صافي. شمسي بن صافي بحسب صحيفة تايمز أوف إسرائيل هو خير مثال لطائفة المداخلة التي تساعد على تأمين القيم العلمانية الغربية في العالم الإسلامي وتساهم بطريقة غير مباشرة في تعزيز أمن إسرائيل عبر الولاء المطلق للطبقة الحاكمة، فلا تعارضها حتى لو تعلق الأمر بالتقارب مع دولة الاحتلال. تؤمن هذه الطائفة بجواز تطبيع العلاقات بين الحكومة الإسلامية وإسرائيل، ولا تؤمن بمقاطعة البضائع والخدمات الإسرائيلية. طاعتهم للحكومات مطلقة حتى تلك المؤيدة لإسرائيل بشكل واضح، مثل الإمارات والأردن ومصر والمغرب والسودان. منذ بدء العدوان على قطاع غزة، ظهر الداعية الجزائري شمسي بن صافي موجها سهام نقده تجاه حركة حماس، ومدافعا عن المواقف المتخاذلة لأبرز الدول العربية.
بعض الناس عندهم حسد على الخليج.
الصحيفة الإسرائيلية خلصت في مقالها إلى أن جميع تيارات الإسلام السياسي تمثل خطرا، لتبقى المدخلية وحدها التيار الإسلامي الوحيد لأهداف وغايات دولة إسرائيل.
You're talking about Philistine. You're condemning the Palestinians.
He's playing around.
So you occupied the Muslims with politics. This is correct.
You know what people say about me?
This is absolutely correct.
What people say about me? Shamsi don't like to talk about politics.
I took this extra from a Middle Eastern channel. They created a 2-minute video highlighting Shamsi's position, the Madkhali understanding, and then the backdrop of his, ongoing anti-normative positions regarding the Gaza war, etc. Now, he mentioned clearly from his own mouth, بعض الناس عندهم حسد على الخليج. Some of the people have jealousy for the Khalij. Do you see my point, what I mentioned earlier? They have a focus solely on defending Khaliji rulers. They are slaves and bootlickers to the Khalij. Let's present the article now, because what I want to do is be fair and just. Just because it's in the times of Israel doesn't mean it's true. Let's just get that out there. Just because it's on that particular website and it's the time of Israel, that by default makes it true. No, it doesn't. So let's break it down and then go into it in much detail, dissect it, then we could agree to disagree on the content. That's only fair, right? Out of Israel. Is Madkhalism a friend of the state of Israel? Okay. Senior Islamic scholar. Okay, Shamsi bin Safi, even he would laugh at that. A proponent of Madkhalism, which he is, that supports strong ties with the state of Israel if the Arab rulers permit it. Let me ask, where is the lie in this statement? You hold the view of complete obedience. Now you would argue, no. لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية خالق. No obedience to the creation, it's a disobedience to Allah. The question to ask you, we're going to get to a senior scholar, not the Trinity that you hold, when there was an alliance, like we just presented, your second home, we're going to build bridges, and that's an alliance. That's an alliance, no doubt about it. What was their stance towards such rulers? Okay, let's carry on. So he mentions about political Islam, fundamental Islam, and he mentions Daesh, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Al-Shabaab, Houthis, etc. All these groups are in one way or another influenced by Muslim brother methodology, principle, and values. However, the sect of Madkhalism is core counterbalance to these groups and helps secure Western, secular, democratic interests and ideals as well as the security of the state of Israel. That's fact. As I reiterated time and time again, Madkhalism and the pseudo-Salafis are indeed secularists. You do not have an issue if a ruler promoted secularism, Marxism or communism. This is why I say when it comes to the fundamentals of Islamic legislation, they are indeed secularists. Madkhalism and their like. Additionally, this sect believes in the permissibility of normalizing ties between Islamic governments and Israel and does not believe in boycotting Israeli goods and services. Their unquestioning obedience to governments, even those that are clearly pro-Israeli, such as the UAE, Jordan, Egypt, Morocco, and Sudan, etc., means that the official policies that benefit Israel will not be opposed but supported, since, in their words, this is the decision for the rulers. Moreover, this theological principle known in Arabic as Ta'at Wali al-Amr, which can be translated obedience to the ruler, is the bedrock of stability across the pro-Israeli Middle Eastern states. Now, I'm not going to read on because it gets a bit lengthy and he starts going into his own personal opinions. But whilst reading that, there's nothing in this article to suggest that this individual, whoever he may be, has concocted or accused, lied, fabricated anything which the Madkhalis don't agree with. Fundamentally, manhajan, usulan. You do agree with this. If the ruler agrees, you have no problem in accepting it. Now, you mentioned Al-Hudaybiyah, we're going to get into that. You mentioned Salahuddin, you haven't even read the book, Al-Nawadir al-Sultani fi Mahasin al-Yusufiyya, about the ongoing back and forths and the liberation and then the Hudna that he had. When was the Hudna? When was it? And under what context did he have the Hudna? Do you know who Al-Adil is? Who's Al-Adil to Salahuddin, who was involved in many of these negotiations? You haven't even read it, mate. So you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to Salahuddin al-Ayyubi rahmatullah alayh. Yes, when the conquest of Jerusalem was complete and there were European kings coming from all over Europe and it became so hectic that they were losing territory. You don't know about Tripoli or the Principality of Tripoli, what's it called, Antioch and all of these areas that the Crusaders still held in the north. You don't know nothing about Salahuddin's life. On top of that as well, let's just present certain facts. Raise an interesting point. Ibn Uthaymin rahmatullah alayh, Bin Baz and Shaykh al-Albani rahmatullah alayh, whilst they were alive, Palestine was occupied. Did they make general fatwa about trading with the Yahud and Nasara? Yes, they go, it's permissible to trade with the Yahud and Nasara. General fatwa, right? But every fatwa has a time and place, and every fatwa has a context. So, none of them have cited Treaty of Hudaybiyah. I'm going to go into a video to show you, you don't even know about the Treaty of Hudaybiyah properly. When we go into it in depth, when we go into the ulama statement, I've got a video to record about that. So, we're going to get into that in another video. None of them cited the Treaty of Hudaybiyah as permissibility to have alliances with the Israelis. It's an alliance. What you have when you normalize, as I presented in my video, I think it was to Muhammad Tarona, when Egypt and Jordan, when they signed the peace treaties, it included a comprehensive agreement. So I'll give you an example, as you can see on screen. The agreement covered so much different facets, right? And if anyone's interested, you could read it yourselves. So you've got here the Jordanian peace treaty, which mentioned about different articles. And I'm just going to paste through it so you can read it for yourselves. You've got establishment of peace, general principles, international boundary, security, water, economic relations. So you're aiding them economically. We're going to get into the classic ulama, one of the alims, what was his stance? Refugees and displaced persons. So you got the Egypt agreement, you've got diplomatic and consular relations, economic and trade relations, cultural relations, freedom of movement, cooperation for development and good neighborly relations, transportation and telecommunications, enjoyment of human rights, etc., etc. So this is an alliance between two parties with an occupying entity. Al-Izz ibn Abdus Salam, when the Salibiyin was still present, Salahuddin did not kick them out of Ardul Sham completely. He took territory, but did not actually free the lands from the Salibiyin. It was Baybaz al-Bungundari, Rukn al-Din al-Baybaz al-Bungundari. He was the one that actually removed them completely. When one of the Ayyubiyun, he had an alliance similar to your masters. When they, well, one of them really, MBS, you've got plenty. When they are signed this alliance and they've got this agreement as part of the Abraham Accords, they've agreed economic relations and all sorts. So it's an actual tahaluf. What did Al-Izz ibn Abdus Salam do? As you can see on screen, we've got the book Al-Izz ibn Abdus Salam, his life, his influence, his manhaj in tafsir. And this is written by Dr. Abdullah bin Ibrahim al-Wahibi. Okay? And who is he? He is الأستاذ المساعد بكلية أصول الدين بالرياض جامع الإمام محمد بن سعود الإسلامية. So as you can see on screen, we've got the subchapter تحالف صالح إسماعيل مع الصليبيين وإنكار العز عليه. That the alliance which UAE have with Israel, as we just read from the Jordan and Egypt, it's an alliance. It's an agreement with all economic trade and this, annex and this article. It's an alliance. It's a tahaluf. They have an agreement between each other. Same way the way Salih Ismail made with Salibin. But let's go into this, to summarize. That basically Salih Ismail feared from the son of his brother Najmuddin Ayyub bin Kamil, because they had an issue between each other, as you know, certain dynasties did. So what happened? So he wrote to the Crusaders, listen to this, he wrote to the Crusaders and he agreed with them to aid them against the Hakim al-Misr, which is Najmuddin Ayyub bin Kamil, in order, and he would give up Sidon, which is northern Palestine, Shaqif, Safad, and وحصول أخرى, and other fortresses. وكان ذلك في سنة, and this was in the year 638, that this is in the year 638. So to go into it, سمع لهم بالدخول دمشق وشراء الأسلحة منها, that he heard, Al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam heard that they entered into Damascus, the same way these Zionists are entering into Dubai, entering into, you know, Amman and other places, soon to be Riyadh, don't worry about it, if they're not already there already. And they took and they purchased and they piled up on weapons, استعدادا للحرب, استعدادا للحرب, to prepare for war. Against who? His brothers. Against his brothers. And Al-Izz gave a fatwa saying it's haram to sell to them, in a nutshell, because they are buying these weapons, right, to what? To fight your brothers, the Muslims. This is what Al-Izz Abd salam said. So what happened? Salih Ismail found out and he deposed him. And then they came to him, right, to summarize, and he said, and this is my advice to Shamsi. What happened? Salih Ismail threatened to arrest him, so he left. He went to Jerusalem on the way to go to Misr. And then people came to him and they said to him, look, go back to your position, right? Just come back and kiss the Sultan's hand and return back to your position. Shaykh Al-Izz Abd Salam responded to those people. فَقَالَ لَهُ وَاللَّهِ يَا مسكين. He says, oh, I swear by Allah, O miskin. مَا أَرْضَاهُ أَن يُقَبِّلَ يَدِي فَضْلًا أَن أُقَبِّلَ يَدِي. He said, O miskin, I swear by Allah, I am not pleased that he kisses my hand. Leave off me kissing his hand. يَا قَوْمْ أَنْتُمْ فِي وَادٍ وَأَنَا فِي وَادٍ. He goes, oh people, you are in one valley and I am in another valley. And he ended off by saying, Walhamdulillah alladhi afani mimma ibtalakum bih. And then he said, my all praise be to Allah who has sufficed me in this trial. Then they said, okay, if that's the case, we're going to have to arrest you. He says, do what you want. Then they arrested him in the في خيمة, in a tent في جانب الخيمة للملك, and they arrested him close to the tent of the Malik. Then he mentions فبقاء العز في اعتقال راضيا بقضاء الله صابرا على ابتلائه محتسبا لأجره. And he carried on, he was happy, he was pleased, being in prison, seeking the pleasure of Allah and being pleased with his rida, being with qadr, sorry, patient with what he's been trialed with, seeking the ajr of Allah, you know, continuously spending his time in recitation of the Quran, etc. So coming back to me now, right, what I'm trying to get to is that, look, this stance is not from Islam. It's Islam. It opposes Islam. And you, Shamsi, give legitimacy to those rulers. What was the response of the honorable scholar when he was approached by those same people? What was the response of the honorable scholar when he was approached and tried to convince him to lower his principles? He said, Wallahi ya miskin, ma ardahu an yuqabbila yad. Forget about me kissing his hand. I wouldn't let him kiss my hand. And you shilful Khaliji rulers, what we listen to, this is your second home. Whilst Gaza has been bombed and carpet bombed and razed to the ground, but yet you shill for these rulers. So no offense. The Times of Israel article isn't completely untrue. Yes, there are some things that are over exaggerated, I agree. But principally, there was nothing wrong with the article. And that's what's burning you. The Arab media got hold of it. Everybody is aware of your polluting methodology, bootlicking methodology, and just shunned. You're outcast. So take care of yourselves. Wa ala nabiyyina.
ليس الغريب غريب الشام واليمن إن الغريب غريب اللحد والكفن إن الغريب له حق حكم لغربته على المقيمين في الأوطان والسكن. سفري بعيد وزاد لن يبلغني، وقوتي ضعفت والموت يطلبني. ما أحلم الله عني حيث أمهلني، وقد تماديت في ذنبي ويسترني. تمر ساعة